What's up, beautiful people? Listen, Daruma, welcome to the channel. Today we'll have this very interesting video, and it's titled Candace Owens Gets Up and Destroyed Nancy Pelosi in Epic Speech. Awesome. I'm excited to check this one out. Let's check it out.
You know, I had this conversation, which I kind of wanted to reiterate. I was talking to my husband, and he put up the perfect, love that, a great analogy. He said, the left is like the Titanic. I want you to think about that for a second, right? A bunch of liberals got on board, right, and said, not even God can sink this ship, right? Not even God can sink this ship. All in the ocean, everybody's, it's amazing, the media's on their side, this ship is amazing, it's never gonna go down. And then they hit a little iceberg, and they said, oh, that's all right, it's just a little iceberg, it's the Titanic. Not even God can sink the Titanic, it's a little iceberg. And he likened that to when they hit me in the media, right? Oh, it's all right, we'll get rid of her, right? She was a little loud, but we'll get rid of her. We'll smear her. We'll say she supports Hitler. We'll say she hates herself. We'll say she's a self-hating black. It's fine. We'll get rid of her. It's just a little iceberg. But that was just the tip of the iceberg, see? I was just the tip. What was buried beneath was all of Brexit. It was 60 years of injustice done to the minority community in America.
Yeah.
And now they're panicking because they realize they have a problem. And you know what? They didn't put enough lifeboats on the Titanic. They don't really know what's going to happen to the left anymore. The liberals don't know what to think because suddenly black Americans are waking up and ordaining to think for themselves.
Yes.
The challenge I have always presented, I have never gotten on a stage and told people who to vote for, what to vote for, why they should vote, because I don't consider Brexit to be a political organization. We're not. We are an organization that focuses on free thinking. The ability to say what you think and the ability to describe to somebody why you think it. That's the most important part. Not just thinking something, but knowing why you think it. Why? Why is such an important question. I ask people all the time, why do you fight? Why do you get up? Why did you show up and come to Brexit today? What is driving you in the actions that you do day in and day out? I know what drives me. I tell people all the time the story, and I'm actually just floored that I get to say it on this stage tonight. It's going to be extra special, but you know, for me, running around the nation and speaking on college campuses has been something like a nightmare. It's basically just rooms full of toddlers, people crying, overprivileged, telling me that they're oppressed when they live in the greatest nation. If you live in America today, you are the most overprivileged people that have ever lived in the face of human history.
Thank you.
That
That's
is the truth.
Yes.
Okay?
That's so true.
And so I play this game where the first thing I do when I get on a college campus is I say, before we get started, because you know I got tons of protesters there. Usually I have Black Lives Matter in the back just waiting for me to say something. At one event at UCLA, they actually had a group of people that were playing Beyonce music trying to drown out the sound so my voice couldn't be heard. You have Antifa outside making physical threats. So I start at the beginning. I say, before we get started, we don't even have to yell at each other. I'm going to ask a very simple question in this room, okay? It's 2019 in America. How many college students in this room, this is what I ask, think that America is a more racist country today than it was in the 1940s?
Yes.
60% of the hands go up.
Okay.
60%. Why are you even sending your kids to school? Seriously, 60% of the hands go up. And I say, you got to be kidding me.
Like,
that is brainwash right there.
Yes.
That is media brainwashing at work. And what drives me is that, because that's what makes me angry. So many of you guys have followed me since the beginning, since my red pill black days, right? YouTube. When I realized that something was wrong, I decided to start a YouTube channel. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know that people were going to find me and start sharing my videos, but I knew something was really rotten, and I wanted to present a different perspective. Because what seemed to happen to the black family seemed to be systematic.
yes.
In the 1960s, they came around and they started offering welfare, right? Knocking on doors, oh, you need some welfare for your family, government help. Let me tell you something. The bigger government gets, the smaller the individual gets.
Yes.
Okay? Government is trying to replace family. You have a problem, they don't want you to go to God, they want you to go to government,
Yes.
right? We have a solution. The experiment was Black America. The experiment when LBJ created the Great Society Act was Black America. We're going to give them a little something, just a little bit of something, right? Not much. They're not going to get ahead, but it'll keep them coming back.
Yes.
It created addicts. I call this government addicts, addicted to government. I don't know anybody who has stayed on welfare and gotten ahead in their life. Because it wasn't built to help them get ahead of their lives. It was built to help them get addicted to government.
Yeah.
It is a drug.
Yes.
Okay? And they knew what they were doing because here was the plan. Once you break down the family, right? You know what's going to happen to the youth.
Yes.
When you don't have mom and dad at home around a table telling you what's right and what's wrong, where's the youth going to go? They're going to pursue that paternity somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to run to the streets. Suddenly hip-hop artists become mom and dad. Beyonce and Jay-Z become mom and dad, right? You put on a record and you're learning something, right? The angry hip-hop artists are telling you how you should live your life. And that's what happened. And then they seized control of the education system and they started brainwashing because they know the single mom, she had to be at work, right? So it's okay. School's free. Drop off your kid at school. The public school system is free. Fight for the free school system. And what happens? You end up with a bunch of brainwashed children who believe they're victims before they even try to get out. They're bitter and they're angry at the world before they even try to attempt to make something of themselves.
Yes.
This is the systemic oppression that exists today. Our education system and the systematic breakdown of family. In the 1960s, there was a guy named Patrick Moynihan who used to come out with a report. In the 1960s, he came up with a report on single mothers. And he said, oh my goodness, we have a problem in the Black community. The single motherhood rate in the 1960s was 23%. He said, this is an epidemic. 23% single motherhood rate in the Black community. And they all said, oh, this is an epidemic. Today, as we stand and sit in this room, the single motherhood rate in the Black community is 74%. You want to know why atheism is becoming mainstream? Why you see people mocking people? I mean, I was floored to see on The View, Joy Behar, boo, mocking the vice president because he believes in Jesus Christ, right? Because he said that he doesn't go out to eat with another woman without his wife. She was mocking his values. It's become mainstream and popular and current to mock God. Why? Because you have to be, the government needs atheism.
Yes.
That's what they want. They don't want you to believe in anything. They don't want you to believe in family. They don't want you to believe in God. They don't want you to believe in anything but government. And that's what we're trying to reverse. That's what we have to reverse if we're going to fix the issues in our community. I tell people all the time that I was lucky. I don't know which way I was going to end up. I was a liberal. You guys know I started on the left in the same way. But I was fortunate that in my formative years, I grew up in my grandfather's house and my grandmother's house. And it was, you know, a little different. My grandfather grew up when there was actually real racism in America, right? Not just, oh, you offended me in my feelings, so I'm going to call you a racist. I disagree with you, so you're a racist, right? Real racism. He grew up in the segregated South. His first job was when he was 5 years old laying tobacco out to dry on a sharecropping farm. This is what it was in the South, in North Carolina, in Fayetteville. One of 12 brothers and sisters. But he got up every single day and he went to work. There was no nonsense. He's picked cotton before. There was no nonsense. He grew up with the real KKK, right? Not, I don't like the president, so we're going to say the KKK's back and now black people can't go outside. The real KKK. And even when he tells us those stories, when he tells us the stories of what it was like with the KKK, he never sounds like a victim. It's exactly how he used to say. He used to say, my daddy, the KKK used to come around our house, and my daddy would grab the shotgun and shoot back at them boys. Talk about that. Power. There was no victimhood. And the amazing thing is, he married my grandmother when they were 17 years old, came up north, married my grandmother, And never once in their household did my grandfather say anything bad about white people. I wasn't raised to view myself as less than. I simply never learned how to be a victim. That's the way things were. That wasn't the society that I grew up in. Instead, and this is shocking, my grandparents believed in some other stuff, really crazy stuff, I'll tell you. First and foremost, they believed in God, right? Faith, something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we used to have these my grandpa used to fix big Southern breakfasts. I should be overweight. He used to grits, eggs, bacon, pancakes, hot chocolate every single morning around the table. And we'd have to read from the Bible. Me and my brothers and sisters, we'd have to read from the Bible every single morning. He'd go around and he'd ask us questions. We were on our best behavior. I was scared because as a child, I believed that through my grandfather's praying, he had an instant direct line to God. And when we would act up, he would incorporate us into the prayer. And I always tell this story, and he might not remember it, but one night I was cold, so I got up in the middle of the night and I turned the heat up in our room. Me and my sister had bunk beds, and you weren't supposed to play with the heat in Granddad's house. But I played with the heat. I couldn't read it, but we woke up and it was very hot. And I went down for breakfast and I said good morning, because if we didn't say good morning, he wouldn't serve us our plate. You couldn't get food. So you sit around, everybody else got a plate. You couldn't get your food if you didn't say good morning. But I said good morning. I was ready for my plate. Granddad broke out into prayer, and you won't believe what he did. He said, "Dear Heavenly Father, please help Candace to realize she shouldn't be finishing with the heat." I got up from the table and I ran and I started crying. And I just said, "Why did you have to tell God? Keep it between the family? You have to tell God?" That fear, right, of my grandfather's rules and knowing that there was something bigger that was watching me, that had to put me on my best behavior. In the end, that's what saved me, but not in the beginning. Because when I went to school, I was embarrassed about that. It wasn't cool to be a person that said, "Oh, we read the Bible this morning." You don't say that in school. You don't say that in secular America. It's not cool to read the Bible in the morning. It's not cool to talk about praying. And I went down a very liberal route. I say this all the time. I took the most liberal route to conservatism there ever was. I was embarrassed of how faithful my grandparents were. All of that embarrassed me. But by the grace of God, I was saved. I really was.
Amazing.
Because those things that felt like freedom, going out, sneaking out, doing what you wanted to do, partying, drinking, right? Experimenting, all that thing that felt like freedom.
Wow, I need to check the longer one of this video, because this right here is the truth. Is how a couple of people, especially in black homes, they are so brainwashed to say, "Oh, America is a racist country." Really, I don't get it, and I still would not understand, because in America today is what people put front and say, "Oh, somebody is being racist to them," and you see how America does and attack it immediately. There are tons of countries, tons of places where you don't even hear the word racist. That's not because they aren't racist, but because of the fact that nobody's going to do anything about it. And when you make the racist cry, nobody's going to listen to you. And that's how it is in some countries. But when I hear Americans complain all of that stuff, I'm like, well, lots of you don't travel, so you don't even know. And this is what you've been brainwashed to think, that America is a racist country. No, America is not. And I'm going to say it with my full chest. America is not a racist country. Now, let's talk about the victimhood. This victimhood is what people have been taught and groomed and brainwashed to think they are victims. Therefore, there is somebody out there that is against you, or there's somebody out there that doesn't want you to succeed. And predominantly, who is the person who don't want you to succeed? A white person doesn't want you to succeed. Therefore, you're groomed, brainwashed to think and to hate on the white person, hate on yourself because you have a certain color on your skin, and hate on the white person because it don't make sense to me. It still does not, and it still would not. And this is people's everyday life. Let's talk about the fact that single motherhood, people glorify single motherhood now. You go on TikTok, you see people glorifying single motherhood, make it look like, oh, being a single mother is okay, you don't need a man in the house, all of the craziness and everything. Yeah, there are some people who became a single mother not by choice, but there are some people that really want to be single mothers. They glorify it. Like, I don't even understand the level of craziness that people are moving to. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's crazy on TikTok. Lots of people actually these days, they go to TikTok University, and that is where they gain their knowledge from. It don't make sense to me, and it would not. Maybe it would to somebody, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comment down below. What are your thoughts about this? What are your thoughts about America today? Do you think America is a racist country? And at what point was it, compared to now? Just like the analogy Candace Owens gave, I'm also going to give that. Compared to today, now 2023, or depending on where you're going to be watching this, compared to now 2023 and couple of let's say back in 20 years ago, compare the two times. If you're older, or between this time, compare now and 20 years ago, or compare now and 20 years ago. How is the system to Americans, both black and white? How is the system to it? Have there at any point, if you've experienced some kind of racism, at what point was it that you felt that somebody was being racist to you, and at what point was it confronted, or was it dealt with, or it wasn't dealt with? I would really love to learn from you. I would really love to know from you. Was there any point somebody was being racist to you that it was confronted or it wasn't dealt with? I really love your thoughts in the comment down below. I mean, everybody feels differently regarding this topic and topics like this, because it's a very sensitive topic and not everybody want to share their experience on this. But yeah, I really love your thoughts in the comment down below. And also, at what point were you taught to be a victim, and at what point did you liberate yourself to become the victor? I really love your thoughts in the comment down below. You can share other useful information you think might be really helpful. And until next time, see you in the next video.